It's my privilege today to introduce you to Debbie Irwin, and Debbie is a restorative dental hygienist from a small town outside of Toronto, Canada, and she is going to offer up today for us the story of the detox that her husband has been through, he being a restorative dentist there in just outside of Toronto. So I'm looking so forward to this history and story of their management of her husband's detox. Debbie.
Thank you. Just to let you know that I am not a speaker. I am a spouse. So we're going to actually make this a little informal, and I'm going to sit here while we go through the presentation. Come on in, have a seat. And if you have any questions, just grab me. I mean, we're a nice little group. So basically, for better or for worse, you could probably figure that one out. And we were joking earlier when we were setting up, because For Better or For Worse is actually a comic strip in Canada, or it's probably in the States as well. And it's written by the spouse of a dentist. So kind of little story there. So this is our personal journey. And hopefully I can get this to behave itself. So I designed this to be really easy because I'm not a speaker. And so I'm telling it like a story because it's our story. So once upon a time, life was good. The perfect happy family, the perfect happy life. This is our 4 kids and one of our 3 dogs. That's Bill and I, and that's our home in the spring.
Near the lake.
Near the lake, yes. Near Lake Ontario, right across from Rochester, actually. We had good friends and wonderful job. This is actually the boardwalk at our, we have a vacation home in Florida as well. That's Bill walking his new dog. When the kids all move out, you get another dog. And like all fairy tales, there is a tragedy and a villain. And in our case, our tragedy was an illness that nobody seemed to be able to diagnose. And of course, the villain, good old Mercury. Of course, at that time, we didn't realize that.
Were you placing amalgams yourself?
Was I replacing?
Were you placing them as a...
No, as a restorative hygienist, when I graduated, I think when I graduated in the first year, I placed 3 amalgam restorations, but Bill was placing quite a number. And I just basically, to me, it didn't make sense that I was going to spend all of that time with that patient who was frozen to put in something that didn't even look like tooth. To me, if I was going to spend the time on that patient and they were going to spend the time in the chair, I wanted it to look like a tooth at least. And I mean, going through the education of learning how the material actually adhered and restored the tooth. And you didn't have to take as much tooth material away. It made a huge difference for me. So honestly, when I did when I was doing them at first, I graduated a long time ago, I would actually say to my patient, they'd say, "Oh, I don't want the white one." Well, why? There's a cost difference. I said, "No, there's not. Whatever you're paying for the silver, we'll do the white for the same price." Because I felt it was a waste of my time to put mercury fillings in there. So just going through the changes that occurred, Bill became very antisocial. And I don't know if anyone has gone through this before. Yes, I see a head nodding there. You know, you have children and you're going to different things at school, and all of a sudden he would disappear. So basically, the friend, you have a husband that doesn't want to hang around at social events. Even staying for coffee after church was a bit of a chore for him. And then the boss, who, I think they're taking toilet paper. Excuse me? What are we talking about? The staff are stealing from us. We had the whole paranoid thing going on. Like, yeah. You can probably do this presentation. It's probably your life too, right? Yeah, you heard. So the boss, who once thought he had the best team, now thinks the staff is stealing from him, billing him for hours that they shouldn't, because I don't think they were really there that late. And even thinks they're taking toilet paper, stamps, and newspapers. As crazy as that seems, it was true. They were not. It was true. He thought they were. And things got worse. The dad, who was patient, who probably changed more diapers than I did because I went back to school and left him with 3 babies, who was helpful, became short-tempered and intolerant, and then sad when he realized that how he had acted. And the dentist, who loved going to work every day for 20 years plus, can't wait to go home and hates the thought of getting up and going to work in the morning. And the husband, who was sensitive and understanding, is now paranoid about everything, including your relationship. And then you start to think, is this just a midlife crisis? You know, you've heard about that. You hear people talking about it. I think that must be the problem. It must just be a midlife crisis. We'll get through this. And does this sound familiar? It took me a long time to actually find that picture of Grumpy. But that was Bill. That's what the kids used to call him, is Grumpy here. And this isn't a storybook story. This was actually my life. This is Bill, because as all of you know, when you have mercury toxicity, you're tired all the time. So for the next 3 years, we read and researched, visited doctors and specialists. I mean, we were running out of specialists. Who else do you go see? We adjusted our lifestyle, so we were not social. I went to lots of social occasions, and he stayed home with the kids, and kept searching for answers. And, of course, every doctor you saw would say, well, there's nothing really wrong. Like, you're not dying. You can work. You can function. Yeah, of course. No, and read this book and read that book. Well, you pretty well have read all of the books. Anyway, all the doctors said, you know, you're within normal limits. All of the tests come back within normal limits. So nothing was really wrong, but nothing was really right. So we were both getting pretty tired. And then one day, Bill was reading a health extension magazine, and he saw that they offered this full battery of blood tests. So he thought, maybe there is this miracle blood test that will tell me what's wrong with me. And it was specifically for men because he was having an issue with testosterone. And our doctor suggested he maybe read The Joy of Sex. That was his solution. Of course, there are always drugs, little blue pills that you can take that would fix the problem, too. Anyway, we had planned a trip over the Christmas holiday, and there was a lab that Life Extension magazine had in Orlando. So he made an appointment and headed off one early morning when the kids were still sleeping. And finally, a light at the end of the tunnel. Well, not really a true light, but the test results came back, and they said he had no cholesterol. They were actually quite frantically trying to get a hold of him. Of course, we were on holidays. And he hadn't left my cell phone number with them, and they were calling our home and our dental office to try and contact him because he should basically not really be walking around without any cholesterol. Cholesterol is needed for so many things, especially the transport of hormones. And basically they said, you need to get in to see a specialist right away, somebody that does hormone balancing and understands why you don't have any cholesterol, good or bad cholesterol. So, mercury poisoning, what's that? And so Bill went to see a specialist who we talked about. He's in Barrie as well as 2 offices in Toronto. And so we drove up to Barrie, and within 10 minutes, he said, oh, I'm pretty sure that I know, Bill, what you have. I know what your problem is. And he told him it sounded like he had a heavy metal problem, and then asked Bill what he did for a living. So Dr. Huey explained that with a DMPS challenge test, he could tell him within a matter of a few days if what he thought was true. And sure enough, it was. So we found out the job that Bill loved was what was killing him. So this is just the beginning of a long but hopeful journey. So Bill thinks, wow, I must be the only dentist who's ever had this problem, because all of my friends who are dentists, they're fine, they're not sick, they don't have any issues. And of course my college, my dental college, they've never said anything about mercury causing a problem. Like, of course, if they knew that mercury caused a problem, they would have said something to me when I was in school, or they would have sent something in the mail saying, oh, hey guys, we just found out mercury is an issue. It could be poisoning you. Have you ever had these problems with your life? Of course, Bill's thinking, no, I must be the first dentist in the world to have a mercury issue. And, or, you know, my mom died at an early age, so maybe I have really bad genetics. That was his thought. He does have bad genetics, but it has nothing to do with that. And of course, I thought, if you have this problem, I bet there are more dentists out there who have figured this out. I think I will just spend some time with my good friend Google. And I found IAOMT. So, IAOMT. A few months after the diagnosis, we were off to our first meeting in Florida, and it was a beautiful spot. I think it was a Ritz-Carlton, too. In Naples, that was our first meeting. After our first day, the Thursday introductory program, we were tired, we were angry, of course, very betrayed, and very overwhelmed. Oh my goodness, all this information. We actually went up to our room and slept for 3 hours, the 2 of us, just passed out. And I'm sure Rich was ready to throw more than just those anti-HG buttons that he was, every time you answered a question or put your hand up, he would toss a button. I don't know if they still do that, but, and then got very frustrated after about my 100th question and asked why Canadians were such difficult people. I think that's why he doesn't do Thursdays anymore. It was probably my fault, I'm sorry. Next came the detox. So first, we had a detox bill. Of course, as all of you know, there is no detox protocol. There is nothing. And when we went to IAOMT, we thought, this is going to be great. We're going to go there. And they're going to say, this is what you need to do. Take this pill, or jog 10 miles and do this, and you're going to be all better. But we found out that's not so. So first, of course, we got all of Bill's amalgams out. And then he started his DMPS IV treatments. He used the ion foot bath. We bought an infrared sauna. Ordered Suncorella by the case, as well as cilantro whenever we could get it. My refrigerator will smell forever of cilantro. It still does. It's frozen. Now I freeze it. It doesn't smell so bad. Of course, he puts it in his shakes every morning, so the whole house smells. And then, of course, the kidney issue starts to happen after the multiple DMPS treatments. And lots of trips to see his friendly acupuncturist to help with his kidneys. And we still continue to search for the ideal treatment, because when you start out at 186 and you should be less than 4, it's a long journey. Of course, then we have to detox the office. So we shut down for 2 weeks and took all the cabinetries. We have 8 operatories. Took all the cabinetries out. We replaced all the carpeting and ripped all the baseboards out, because Mercury likes to hide in lovely little cracks and crevices. Everything was vacked with heavy-duty shop vacs, and we installed the antimicrobial flooring that can be heat-sealed that they use in the ORs in the hospitals. And then all of the baseboards were replaced and caulked and sealed, because with paranoia, I mean, you don't want to go to work if there's a little bit of mercury hiding under a baseboard somewhere. And then we got all of our great little air cleaners in, little, as we call them, snuffleupagus, which some of them run 24/7. And but best of all, we got a mercury sniffer. So Bill can sniff a room if he feels that maybe he might get sick from working today. We can prove to him that there's no mercury in that room. When does the paranoia go away? That is my question. Footsteps. I don't know how many of you probably all know the whole footsteps verse as far as why is there only one set? Well, that's us. That's us, the spouses, who are carrying the big load, the family on our shoulders. So as we go through this process, I always find it helpful to take the rocking chair test. And I don't know if you know the rocking chair test. I mean, you're going through detox, and you have to go to the kids' play, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. And there's bills to pay, and there's other family things you have to do. So the rocking chair test is basically jump in your rocking chair and you're 90 years old. What really mattered? So that would be how I would make decisions. Did it matter that the Christmas lights didn't get put up? Nah. Or that the dog didn't get groomed? Not really. Or that you had a new dress for that party? Nothing really, I mean, your priorities really change. So I always find it helpful to take the rocking chair test. And these are my little how to weather the storm guidelines for spouses. So surround yourself with positive people and positive things. Communicate the issues with your children, with your staff. Very important with your staff, because, of course, they think that both of you are losing it. I mean, they're already wondering about the dentist, because they work with him and they've seen the changes and they've seen the paranoid personality. And so it's important to educate your staff. And of course, any other family members or any close friends. And make plans. I mean, don't let your life stand still. Never let an illness rule your life. And most of all, take care and take time for yourself. Because it's always important to remember that you can't look after others if you don't take care of yourself. And some things just don't matter. And I don't know if you've heard the push theory. Pray until something happens. That is my daily reminder. And you're never alone, because there's always someone that's gone through what you're going through. And there's always someone that has been through worse. And cherish yesterday. Learn from yesterday. Plan for tomorrow, but live for today. And at the end of every day, count your blessings. And they plan to live happily ever after.